So go back and look at those capacities that the frontal lobe is giving you as it matures, and understand that ADHD and other disorders like it, but especially ADHD, restricts that development by 30 to 40%. So if you want to know how far behind somebody with ADHD is in self-regulation, conservatively take 30% off their age, that's where they are. By the way, the rule of thumb applies to about 24 to 30 years of age, and then that's it. It's over. That is where you are going to stay through the rest of your lifespan. So this helps you to understand then, where are the clients we serve in their executive capacities? On average, people with ADHD are about 30% behind their age, which means that if you're about 16, you have the self-control of a 12-year-old. If you're 21, it's that of about a 14-year-old. Eventually, by the time you get up into your late 20s and early 30s, hopefully you're somewhere around 18 to 22 years of age. But you're not 30. You will always continue to make less mature choices than other people are likely to do. But the point is this: the concept of an executive age allows us to adjust our expectations, to change the environment around the affected individual in order to work with the executive age we have, not with the one we want. And that reduces conflict. So it pays to think of the brain very simplistically as a knowledge performance device. The back part of the brain is where you acquire information. The front part of the brain is where you use it in daily adaptive functioning. And ADHD separates those two parts. So it doesn't matter what you know, you can't do it as effectively as other people. You can't use your learning and your information for social effectiveness over time. You can get 800s on the SATs and you will do stupid things. So it doesn't matter what you know. What matters is, do you apply it? Knowledge by itself is useless unless it is applied in human life for effectiveness, for adaptive and social activities. So how then do we understand ADHD? We can understand that ADHD disrupts the executive system, causing a severe time blindness, leading to a contraction in the hierarchy of the system, a contraction in the temporal and spatial and social aspects of the individual's life. Since the executive system is future-directed, ADHD is IDD, Intention Deficit Disorder. It means that ADHD is a disorder of performance, not knowledge, a disorder of doing what you have learned, not of knowing what to do. And the only way to deal with a performance disorder is to restructure the point of performance, the place in life where the problem is occurring. The further away in space and time you are from that point, the less effective your intervention will be. Performance disorders must be treated at points of performance. We know that to alter the executive functioning of individuals over time, we are going to have to work within these 5 domains: information, maturation, accommodation, medication, and modification. So what are the implications of an executive view of ADHD? Number 1, the implication for treatment is obvious. This is not a skill disorder. Stop skill training. These people are not stupid, and yet we bring them in and act as if they don't know. Little children have no friends. Oh, you need social skills training. ADHD adults can't manage time. Oh, you need time management training. People with ADHD have lousy working memory. We have them practice CogMed, digit span backward every night for 45 minutes in the belief that we have somehow altered the executive deficit. You haven't even come close. So the point here is this: don't focus on the skills so much. Restructure the point of performance. Follow what I call the 80-20 rule. 20% skill review to make sure they've got it, 80% changing that point of performance so that they show it. The goal is to show what you know, not to sit around and teach. The teach and praise strategy failed. It's time to give it up and move on to engineering environments around executive deficits, altering the scaffolding. Second, we have to design prosthetic environments and keep them in place. These are artificial alterations that help reduce the individual's impairment from their executive deficit. But a prosthesis does not get rid of the disorder. It reduces impairment from disorder. A ramp into this building is a prosthesis for people in a wheelchair, but it does not get you out of the wheelchair. It allows you to do something you couldn't otherwise do in that environment. Remember, impairments are always setting specific. So we are trying to lessen impairment from your disorder, realtering, redesigning environments. The third, of course, is making sure it's at the place where the problem exists. Not in an office, not in a pull-out service, not in a summer camp in Michigan. Where is the problem? That is the environment that requires restructuring. We need to understand that in the case of ADHD, the origin of these deficits is largely neurological and genetic, not social, not a choice, not due to video games or TV or your diet. So we have the most striking neurogenetic disorder in psychiatry in ADHD. What does that mean? It means that if you have a biological disorder, it is completely humane and rational to use psychopharmacology to compensate for that disorder. It is like insulin to a diabetic. Indeed, I tell patients ADHD is the diabetes of psychiatry because it brings to mind the treatment model that you have to have in place in order to deal with this disorder. But it also speaks to the need, often, for neurochemical alterations of the brain to help manage that disorder. We can now refer to ADHD medications as neurogenetic therapies. That is not hypothetical.